This is the Television Enthusiast Podcast, The Weekly Set.
Episode 19, recorded July 16th, 2015. Hello and welcome to the TV Enthusiast Podcast, The Weekly Set. I am your host, Tyson. Joining me today are Kat.
Hi.
And Will.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about Comic-Con, which just happened last weekend. I was there for a very small time, wasn't able to get into the convention at all, but just kind of into a party. And so we'll be talking a little bit about that, but we're also going to be talking about, primarily going to be talking about, the shows that we cover that were there. Stuff like Flash and Arrow and The Walking Dead and just all of that kind of good stuff that we love. And we're going to be kind of talking about what was talked about with the different panels and what was interesting to us. So we're not going to be covering everything. We're not like going over a list or something. We're just going to kind of be playing it free. So if there's anything that's missing, bring it up. Send us a mail. We'll talk about it in another podcast. But let's start things off. Kat, name one of your favorite Comic-Con moments this year?
Well, for me, far and away, my favorite moment was Stephen Amell debuting the new Arrow suits. I thought that was just absolutely possibly the coolest way they could have done that. And I only can imagine how fun it must have been to have been there to see him come out in character, showing off his sweet new suit. It was just awesome on so many levels. Also, the little speech he gave hinted at Star City and the first time he's ever called himself Green Arrow. So I'm way excited.
Yeah, the suit, it's the first time we get a sleeveless suit for him, so...
Yeah.
He gets to show off the guns.
Apparently it's based off of Green Arrow's current costume in the current DC comic books.
Yep, the new 52 suit, so...
Yeah.
I'm already
gotta love
nervous
the
about
synergy.
Well, then Mark Guggenheim has already tweeted out that the title of the first episode of next season is Green Arrow. I literally read that and just went...
So I'm wondering what causes his transition into Green Arrow. Because it seems like this is the season where he finally becomes the Green Arrow, like we've been building up to it. And
he fights through food poisoning.
Yeah. So
yeah,
what completes that transition? Is it just because he ran away with Felicity and now he's so happy that he's lightened up? I don't know.
I hope not. I don't know. Yeah, there's got to be something more to it than that, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I think also just because the new suit itself just looks so cool, and I love how they're doing the slow evolution of this character. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it definitely is amazing. Another part, this wasn't mentioned at the panel, I don't think, but apparently they are very, very interested in getting Matthew Ryan to appear on Arrow as Constantine.
I saw that.
Yeah. Even though, his show's been canceled, Stephen Amell had tweeted previously that he was willing to appear as the Arrow on Constantine. Now the show is canceled, they want to get Constantine on Arrow, so they really want to get some crossover happening there.
I wonder what purpose that would serve, because, I'm guessing a revival for Constantine won't happen at this point, so... What would be the purpose of that? What would it accomplish in the long run, other than here's this
Ryan.
Character that we'll never see again?
Here's a love letter to Matt Ryan, kind of we're sad to have you go, but it's still in our hearts moment.
Maybe Stephen Amell was such a fan of that show. I don't know, but it'd be a cool way to introduce some of the more mystical elements of the DC universe into Arrow. It would be a cool entry point for that.
Does Arrow need more mystical elements, though?
Well, as much as Amell has been a cheerleader for the project for the last couple of years, especially, last year he was the guy for the WB or, WB's programming. or Warner Brothers programming for their TV on Comic-Con. This year, of course, he had a big presence as well, but he wasn't like hosting stuff like he was last year. With all of that, does he have a producer's credit now? Because I'm sure, usually lead actors by like 4 or 5 seasons in have a producer credit, and I'm sure he's got one by now, so he's got to have more influence.
I wanted to address what Kat just said. It says, we need mystical elements? And I want to remind you that the main villain for a new season is going to be Damien Dark.
I know nothing about him.
He has,
and I kind of don't want to know anything about him.
He has ties to some of the more mystical elements of the DCU.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
We'll stop there. I didn't want to spoil anything, but I did want to make that observation that it seems like that's the direction they're probably going anyway. I don't know if that actually is the direction they're going in. But
sure.
If they're having him on, I'm sure it's just kind of like a love letter to Matt Ryan and the fans of Constantine to say, like, don't worry, we didn't forget that this thing existed.
Yeah, I think the whole Constantine thing, I think it's just Stephen Amell being a big fanboy. But it's cool to think about. Another what I was really, really excited about was like the announcements they made for the Flash. If you remember at the end of the season of Flash, we saw that helmet, the original Flash's helmet.
The Wally West, was it, or?
Nope, Jay Garrick. It was Jay Garrick's helmet appeared at the end of the Flash as like an Easter egg. And now we learned through Comic-Con that Jay Garrick is going to appear on The Flash this season, full-blown, like as a major character in the new season.
And he's Silver Age, isn't he?
He's Silver. He was the original Flash, before Barry Allen.
So they're going to do something with time travel with him.
Yeah, they're going to do more with time travel with him. And then the producer also let slip, and he confirmed on Twitter, but he also let slip that they're also going to do something with Wally West as well.
Yeah.
And
that's right. They announced Wally West.
Yeah, they're doing all the Flashes apparently. Now. The only
they're changing the name of the show to The Flashes.
The only Flash that they didn't confirm to be appearing is Impulse. But and they also announced
or Camera. They didn't confirm that Camera Flash was going to be there.
Camera Flash. Also, they announced that the main villain is going to be for this season is going to be Zoom, which is like the Reverse Flash again. Only he's more powerful than the Reverse Flash. He's basically Wally West's Reverse Flash, because in the comics he is Wally West's antagonist.
So do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? Because they're really milking the speedster versus speedster thing, and they had that last season. So in a way, I kind of feel like, you're kind of retreading,
Right. Yeah, it's like you're kind of retreading. I don't know. The character of Zoom, at least in the comics, is more interesting than Dr. Wells was, just because of his motivations were completely different and completely effed up. Like, in the comics, Zoom's motivation is he wants the Flash to be a great hero. He wants the Flash to be, like, the best hero he can be. And his idea of making the Flash the best hero he can be is that to do that, the Flash has to suffer a horrific tragedy in order to rise up and become a great hero.
So he's like a Mr. Glass on Unbreakable.
Yeah, so he's going to put the Flash through hell and do some sadistic crap to him in the hopes that he will rise above it and become this great hero.
Well, here's my biggest concern coming out of the Flash panel was their comment that that the wormhole is going to function in the same way that the particle accelerator did last season? And my response to that is, really? Because I thought they just completely drove the whole particle accelerator created metahumans concept into the ground. They had way too many episodes they relied on that.
Yeah.
So I'm not really
Well,
jumping
I
up
could
and down
see-
with excitement.
With the wormhole, I could see like the idea that like there's a catastrophic event in which not necessarily people develop powers from it, but that you cross these dimensions and times and stuff, and obviously there's going to be elements that slip through.
Yeah, I'm hoping for something completely weird and crazy, like we get like these merging of like different universes because of this
Kind of like
wormhole.
Fringe almost.
Yeah.
Like the seasons of Fringe where they were dealing with the alternate.
Actually, that's probably where Jay Garrick actually comes into play, because maybe it's not time travel. Maybe Jay Garrick is the Flash from an alternate universe, and he crosses over because of the wormhole. Which would actually be more true to the comics, because the first DC comic that introduced the idea of parallel universes was the comic that crossed over Barry Allen with Jay Garrick for the first time. And it explained that they were Flashes from two different universes in that comic. So they're probably doing the same thing here.
I hope so, because I just don't want to see an abundance of metahumans again, because if it's just like, and the wormhole just turned a whole bunch more people into metahumans, I might cry. It would be like, and now here's the metahuman of the week, and the Flash has to run really fast to stop the metahuman of the week. Like, that was like 3/4 of first season.
I think the bigger concern is that we're going to have a bunch of evil twins this season.
Yeah.
It's gonna be all like the regular characters, but wearing like a little goatee.
the evil spot goatee.
It'll be Iris, and she'll be wearing a goatee, and it'll be evil Iris.
You know what? That would
let's-
make her so much more interesting than she has been so far.
Yeah, evil Iris.
That's not saying much, though. Anything would make her more interesting.
But we will also see.
She could have an incurable burp, and it would be more interesting.
But we will also see Dr. Wells with a goatee, and he will actually be the good Dr. Wells from an alternate universe.
Yeah,
And so,
like the good Cartman in the one South Park episode. He's like the only good person from his dimension or whatever.
yeah. I mean,
it's risky territory because you're kind of getting into like, you know, this is a mechanic that you see in DC properties a lot. This is like Phantom Zone, or you know, it's like that kind of aspect that you have here with this.
the stuff the Flash is doing is the kind of continuity, like, mangling stuff that DC Comics started doing that got the continuity so messed up they had to do these Crisis on Infinite Earths events just to clean up the mess that it caused. and now they're doing this with their TV shows, so it's,
You know,
yeah.
The X-Men movies might need to do something like that. They have so many continuity problems.
Oh yeah, they have something. They're gonna have to do something like that too.
Well, wasn't that kind of the ending of Days of Future Past? Was kind of like that,
Retroactively wiping almost everything out of existence, for which we were very, very grateful.
Yes, Bryan Singer gratefully undid a lot of stupid decisions that Fox had made with the franchise. So, I came out of the Days of Future Past more optimistic about the X-Men franchise than before.
Right?
Yes.
So with you there.
We've done this before, but I'm kind of on the other side. I think I was most optimistic about X-Men after First Class, and like what they were doing with the whole kind of period angle and stuff. And I don't know, I wasn't as big of a fan of Days of Future Past as I wanted to be.
Right. Another interesting thing, it's not kind of tangentially related to the Flash TV show, but they interviewed Ezra Miller, who has been cast as Barry Allen, the Flash, for the DC Comics Flash feature film, which is going to be set in the Zack Snyder DC universe.
Yeah.
They interviewed Ezra Miller. He talked about the Flash. They asked him about the Flash television show, And he gave an interesting answer. He said, "Yeah, it's great. I'm the Flash. Grant Gustin is the Flash, and
We're all the Flash.
we're all the Flash." And he was like, it's parallel universes. We could both be the Flash. And then he said he wanted to race Grant Gustin. And I'm like,
A race
I know
around the
Stephen
world.
Amell said something similar when they made all the announcements. That, like, he's like, it's cool if they have a Green Arrow in the movies, that's fine. There are multiple universes. Though personally, I think I'm so attached to his version of Green Arrow, I would be really unhappy if they tried to introduce a Green Arrow into the cinematic universe.
It's only a matter of time.
Right?
Because you've already disconnected from that universe.
I know.
they're gonna.
I mean, he's gonna be in Batman vs. Superman with every other DC character ever created.
Now, isn't the cast only at like 9?
Only, yeah.
What if they cast Justin Hartley as Green Arrow in the films?
Okay,
So
but how would that
there is
work?
continuity with TV, but it's with Smallville.
Yeah, but how would that work then with Tom Welling and Henry Cavill both playing Clark Kent?
Yeah.
This is why I'm glad that Liam Neeson did not play Ra's al Ghul on Arrow, because if he had, that would have been like, wait, so does this mean Arrow takes place in the same universe as the Christopher Nolan films?
Right? That would have been just too weird. Yeah.
That would have been too weird after everything else.
Oh yeah, after everything else, I would have been like crazy.
Yeah.
Speaking of crazy, but apparently Fox is going to do a Bones and Sleepy Hollow crossover.
I was just reading about that.
I know.
I no longer have any interest in either property already, so.
Right, me neither. I stopped watching Bones.
They did a Bones Family Guy crossover years back where I guess
I did.
but I guess guy can't even think of his name. I guess Angel's character.
David Boreanaz.
Yeah, David Boreanaz'
How dare
character
you
was like
forget his
hallucinating.
name?
I knew it was David. I just can't remember his last name
He's
for some reason.
Angel. He'll always be Angel to me.
Okay.
But he was hallucinating, I guess, and was seeing Stewie or something.
Right, yeah, they did that.
So
It was one of those things that when you heard it, it sounded like completely off the wall, but then they managed to do it in like a way that made sense for the story that they were telling. So it actually wasn't that bad. It was kind of neat. But I don't know how they're going to do the Sleepy Hollow thing. That just sounds way out there. It's like...
It way out there. I mean, Sleepy Hollow is dealing with the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse and is just throwing crazy stuff at the wall, like every single high concept they can come up with. Like, could that even coexist in the universe of procedural Bones? That's
I know,
so bizarre.
Bones, that's supposed to
David
be...
Boreanaz is going to hallucinate again.
Yeah, right?
He'll see the Headless Horseman.
Bones that's supposed to be like this show like focusing on grounded science, and I use that in quotation marks because
yeah,
that's the one where they have like holographic computers that recompile Flash and stuff.
Like, well, to be fair, like every single crime procedural show has those computers. It's like apparently the government just has these magic future computers, and we're supposed to accept it because
it looks more entertaining than just typing on a keyboard.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has that, but it's like at least Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. it makes sense. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has flying helicarriers. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of implied that the MCU has like tech, future tech that's slightly ahead of our own,
And don't forget, in the MCU they're using all those holographic miracle computers to play Galaga.
Yeah, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent played Galaga.
Hey, people get bored on the helicarrier when they're not in theory.
They get hella bored on the helicarrier. Okay, so let's move on to something else. Will, what's one of the shows you were excited about on the panel?
I guess I was excited. Well, I was excited for the same thing as Kev. I was like, mostly the Arrow and Prime. I was also like excited about Ash versus Evil Dead, which was
That trailer was amazing.
that trailer kicked butt. That was everything that I wanted in an Evil Dead trailer. In the return to the franchise. I think
And they even worked in his age and stuff perfectly.
Yes, they did.
It all makes sense. It all works out so well. The thing I have to say about that is I have not seen the panel. I've just seen the trailer. But I'm eager to see the panel. I've heard that, Bruce Campbell, as always, was, entertaining as hell.
Bruce Campbell was the highlight of that panel. He killed it with, his comments. And also Sam Raimi and stuff kept ribbing on Bruce Campbell. There was one moment where I think they showed the trailer to it, or there was one part in there where Sam Raimi was talking about Bruce Campbell's acting. They were talking about the original Evil Dead, and they commented on Bruce's acting in the new show, and Sam Raimi said, Where was that Bruce Campbell when I was making the original movie? Where was that acting? I didn't get that.
Yeah, Rami rips on Bruce all the time. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Speaking of Bruce Campbell, we'll move on. We won't talk about the Ash versus the Evil Dead stuff constantly because Kat's not into that, so we'll kind of try to keep it more where we got open discussion with all of us. But they released the first pictures of him as Ronald Reagan in Fargo.
Oh, really? I did not.
Yeah.
Wait, Bruce Campbell's going to be in Fargo?
Playing Ronald Reagan.
Playing Ronald Reagan, yeah.
Wow. That was an interesting image.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see that. Yeah, that's some interesting casting they did there.
It's like a campaign pin or something, or a campaign sticker with his face on it. And that's all you see. That's all we've gotten of it so far. But yeah, I can't wait to see that. Yeah, Campbell's going to be ruling TV in the end of 2015.
I think I actually saw that picture somewhere sometime today, completely out of context, and it didn't even click to me what that was. I thought that was some kind of fan art.
No, yeah, that's from Fargo season 2. So, that's going to be exciting. Campbell's going to be ruling the later half of 2015.
Oh yeah, definitely. Premiering at Halloween on Halloween is just a brilliant move.
I'm going to have to try to organize something with my friends where we're going to watch through all the Evil Dead movies and then the first episode together, because I have to.
Yeah. It's been so long since we got a proper follow-up to Army of Darkness. It's
Army of Darkness was 92, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So that's almost been as long as, Twin Peaks.
Yeah, it actually has been as long as Twin Peaks. Wow, you're right.
If you count the Twin Peaks movie, yeah, it would be as long as Twin Peaks.
Oh my word. That just blew my mind. Yeah, that movie came out that long ago.
Yeah. So it's going to be really cool to see that. Yeah, definitely. That I think I was super excited for. That was the best trailer from Comic-Con, I feel. It was hilarious. It was gory. It hit all the right beats. It had that Sam Raimi camera work style to it. Everything looked right,
Yeah.
It looked exactly like what you'd want to see from
from the Evil Dead.
A new Evil Dead with Ash in it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I also like the fact that they got Lucy Wallace in it too.
Yeah.
And she's apparently playing a mysterious badass character herself. That's going to be really fun.
How many franchises is she involved with now?
I know.
Well, she's deeply tied to the whole Rami Campbell Tapper thing because she's married to Rob Tapper. So
that makes sense.
To Rob Tapper, and she was Xena, which was produced by Sam Raimi and Rob Tapper. So.
And she worked with Bruce Campbell on that show too.
Yeah.
Where Bruce played Otacles, I believe.
Yeah.
Otacles?
Yeah.
something like
being
that.
like a Sam Raimi show on Xena, they had to work Bruce Campbell in it somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was on that.
He wasn't in Spartacus, though, and Rami and Tapper produced Spartacus, too.
That's true. I don't know, Bruce Campbell wouldn't have been in that show. It would have just been weird.
All of a sudden, there's a gladiator with a chainsaw on his arm.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I didn't get a chance to watch the Hannibal panel yet. I really want to watch that next. I'm kind of sensitive to spoilers. I don't know if there's like any...
There are spoilers in the trailer that they released for it, and of course they're going to be talking about that. So you might, but I mean that arc ends tonight, I think. So you might just want to do that as soon as you watch.
I heard
tonight's
somebody
episode.
said like they moved it to Saturday now.
Yeah, the show's going to be moved over to Saturday. I don't know when that starts.
That's completely lame. That's like, come on. Now
it's just, you know what it is? It's because of the affiliate networks.
Oh, yeah.
The affiliate networks were complaining and they had to move it to keep them happy.
Oh,
so.
I see. Yeah, they were boo-hoo story. And it was like...
No, it wasn't doing well ratings-wise.
Oh, okay.
So it's frustrating. It's more the Hannibal frustration. So I'll just start talking about Hannibal right now because I didn't see the panel.
No,
but I did watch the trailer and I did watch.
I will admit I did watch the trailer. I can't help myself. Because it's not Hannibal.
Well, then you kind of got all the spoilers covered, I think.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I didn't actually see the panel. I just saw the trailer.
Well,
and
to be fair, there's like one episode between this stuff that happened and stuff that's being shown in the trailer. So it's like not too many spoilers. Just spoilers, mostly spoilers for one episode that aired tonight.
Is it? I guess maybe it's not tonight. Maybe it's Saturday. I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up and see. I'm hoping it's tonight because I want to go downstairs and watch it after we finish this.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't. They didn't say when they were moving it to Saturday, so I don't know. That could be this week, and then that's delayed. That would suck, but oh well. It's. I'll still watch it. I'm happy that it's still on at least till this season's over. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about Hannibal. So what I did hear coming out of the panel, not from the panel, but just people were talking about it at the NBC party, was that they're talking about doing a feature.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing too. Like a feature film, which would be amazing.
Which would pretty much be Silence of the Lambs if you think about time-wise.
Yeah, it would. If they did a feature film, it would be a remake of Silence of the Lambs. It would have to be.
But they don't have the rights to Silence of the Lambs, so it would be like, Quieting of the Sheep.
Well, they wouldn't name it like Silence of the Lambs. They would, it
would just be called Hannibal or something, yeah.
Yeah, they would, they'd have to give it a new title. But that's what it basically would be.
They'd call it Hannibal versus the evil sheep, the silent sheep.
Yeah, really.
But, so that was an exciting thing to hear people talking about. Of course, I'm much more excited at the prospect of us getting more of the series later, and that's still a possibility as well. It wouldn't happen right away. It would be like something that would mean the season would be delayed like a couple of years or something. Maybe, I don't know how long Amazon's deal is. Maybe it would be long enough that Amazon will lose their exclusivity rights for the first 3 seasons streaming, and Netflix might be able to pick it up at that point. They're not averse to picking something up late after it's gone off the air. They did it with Arrested Development.
It's interesting to me though, like where they would be going after a potential 4th season. If assuming season 4 was going to be Silence of the Lambs, because it seems to me like after Silence, they've covered all the major films. Like, the first half of this season was kind of like a quick and dirty version of Hannibal. A lot of the stuff that was in Hannibal appeared at the beginning of this season. It was basically like kind of a truncated.
You need to clarify there, Will. A lot of stuff that happened in the Hannibal movie was...
Yeah, the Hannibal film. The film that is named Hannibal. Okay. A lot of the stuff that happened in that film took place in the first half of the season. It was kind of the first half of the season was kind of a remixed version of that film. Now they're doing Red Dragon, and then after that they're going to do Silence. Those are the major films. The only film left after that would be Hannibal Rising.
Which is like a prequel thing.
Which was a prequel about the origins of Hannibal.
How familiar are you with the books, though? I'm not super familiar with the books.
I'm not really familiar with the books at all, to be honest.
Because that's the original source material, so there could be a whole wealth of other stuff we're just not thinking about, you know?
That's true. I don't know, like, how many books there actually are, or if, I didn't think about that, because I don't know, like, about the books.
So yeah, I mean, that's the main basis for the series is off of the books rather than an adaptation of the movies. It's just that Brian Fuller will draw back on elements of the movies as kind of like little winks and nods to the fans and stuff.
Right.
We talked about this in our last Dinner with Hannibal special when we talked about, the Freddie Lowndes burning wheelchair scene or the that happened before last season and happened in the Red Dragon movie, and then this time with the whole Ray Liotta scene from Hannibal, the movie that was re-referenced in the TV series at the very end of this last episode. I'm going to talk a little bit about, just going to the NBC Comic-Con party now, because this is where we would talk about it, This is Hannibal.
I'd love to hear about how that went.
Let's hear about your Comic-Con adventure.
I mentioned this before, but I didn't actually get into Comic-Con itself, just this NBC party. So Comic-Con was sold out, so I just couldn't get in. So my entire experience was related to basically being in front of and inside this hotel. That's my entire Comic-Con experience. So while in front of the hotel, I got to see Peter Capaldi walk by.
Nice. Which
was pretty awesome. And his hair looked amazing. He was rocking it. He just looks so much like a 1960s rock star,
As the Doctor should.
Right.
Yeah, it just fits so well, and he looked awesome cruising by, and that was kind of my first starstruck moment. I wasn't able to get a picture or anything like that or talk to him.
That was actually, I heard Peter Capaldi's very first time at Comic-Con ever.
Yeah.
So that must have been interesting for him, but.
Yeah, and then after that, I went up to the party, and my anxiety was kind of on edge, and there was nobody really showing up for an hour into the party, and I kind of kept on should I just leave? What's going on? I'm I need to start networking with some, other press people here and stuff. So I started thinking about that, and as I was thinking about that, I noticed a little bit of a commotion. I looked over and saw the whole Grimm cast.
Cool.
Lined up in front of they had a little NBC board thing up to pose for pictures in front of, and that's the only time I saw it used of the whole party. But the party got too packed after that. So I saw them and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and they kind of started socializing and doing their own thing, and then I walked over and decided to kind of check the other side, because this whole thing took place on the roof of this hotel. And I'm going to check out the other side of this roof, because I hadn't been there in a while since a party had first started. And as I'm walking over there, I suddenly realized I was 5 feet from Brian Fuller, Hugh Dancy, and Richard Armitage.
No way!
Yeah, they were just there. I just suddenly realized, I'm oh man, it's really packed here. It's hard to get through. And then I'm oh, that's why.
That's why.
So yeah, people kind of just queue up around the celebrities there, and just it's not like a line. It's like a circle. It's what I guess it would be if you were at a party and you were just the really popular person there, and everyone's just kind of encircling you and waiting for their opportunity to talk. So that's what it must feel like for them, you know? And then I sat there for a while, got a chance to talk to Hugh Dancy, who was very friendly, very nice. He seemed a little sad to me. I don't know if that was me reading into it, or if it's just because he also seemed like he was kind of a slow, introspective kind of person, you know? So I don't know how much I was reading into that. Maybe it's just my own sadness that Hannibal's like pretty much over now, that,
Aww.
you know, was reflected on that, or maybe it was something he was feeling. But he did say that he was sad about the show ending, and that this was something that he'd probably never get a chance to do again, something along these lines. Just because it was it's such a weird show, and it's so the way the directions it takes is just off the wall. I mean, last episode they had a kaleidoscopic lesbian sex scene.
Yeah.
That was using like kind of mixed imagery from like this kaleidoscope effect to show things that were much dirtier than you could ever show on even like HBO, but not showing it directly. It was just legs, but through a kaleidoscope effect that made it look like a vagina or something, you know? And then like, it was just off the wall, like what they were able to get away with in that scene. And Brian Poole actually got a letter from Standards and Practices praising him for the scene, saying that, you know, what he was able to get away with, basically, and stick within their guidelines. But yeah, it's such an off-the-wall crazy show, and you could tell that, you know, everyone there was kind of sad about the fact that it was over, you know. He seemed more so to me. But he was very friendly, very nice. At the end of our conversation, he shook my hand and looked me right in the eyes and said thank you, and it was very nice.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And then after that, I got a chance to talk to Brian Fuller, and whereas Hugh Dancy was like kind of this introspective, kind of, you know, down-key person, Brian Fuller was like the life of the party. He was like, you know, striking poses and putting his arms around people and, you know, and smiling like ear to ear, you know. He was wearing a Star Wars blazer.
How appropriate.
Yeah, it was great. And so he was very friendly, and I was able to kind of joke with him a little bit. I even joked about Fuller House and how we've joked about that, like how that should be a show. And he caught on right away, and it was like, immediately I didn't have to explain the joke to him, and he said, everybody on that show better die if they're using my name. So it was really funny. And yeah, so he was great talking to him. I brought up the whole this tweet I had sent him years ago, where my sister and I had said that we'd love to see him do like an Arabian Nights TV series, and he was like, Arabian Nights would be a great show. He's like, I'd love an Arabian Nights show. And I'm like, we'd love to see you make one. And he said, oh, that would be a blast. But right now I'm working on American Gods.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
I also asked Hugh Dancy, by the way, when I was talking to him, I said, Brian Fuller reuses a lot of his cast. Who are you playing in American Gods?
Right?
Of course, there's no information yet, so he couldn't say anything, or, you know, he wouldn't even know anything, I don't think.
I'm more interested in who Mads Mikkelsen is going to be playing in American Gods.
Yeah, everyone, man. I want to see I want to see brain farting again. The guy who was in Guardians of the Galaxy and The Hobbit, and Lee Pace. I'd like to see Lee Pace show up again, because he's a Brian Fuller regular from back in the day.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him on American Gods. But yeah, so I talked to him for a while. I didn't get a chance to talk to Richard Armitage, who was also at the party. I just kind of, by the time I'd finished with Brian Fuller, it was getting kind of too packed over there, and I didn't want to take up any more space, so I was kind of scooting off to the side there.
But hey, you got to talk to Brian Fuller.
That was my goal
amazing.
Of the whole party,
right.
And I got to talk to him for a good 5 minutes or so that was really nice.
That's
Mission
so
accomplished. That is awesome. That is like the best.
I also got a chance to talk to two people from the cast of Grimm, which I know you guys don't watch it, but one of them is the guy who plays Monroe, who is also in Prison Break, if you watched that. He was he was like in the first 2 seasons. He was kind of like the insane guy.
Oh, yes, yeah. It was
Haywire
Silas
or
Weir Mitchell, right?
Yes. So I was able to talk to him. He was really friendly and nice too. Everybody was. Nobody was like rude or anything. Yeah, so everybody was nice there. I was able to talk to him for a little bit, you know. He seemed kind of excited about, you know, where he was going with his show, and was, you know, really kind of into it, talking with, you know, fans and stuff, so that was cool. And I was able to talk to the guy who plays the captain on Grimm, who was also in Caprica. If you watched Caprica, he was the uncle that had like the mafia uncle guy.
I didn't watch Caprica.
No.
Oh, you didn't?
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, he was in that. That's like the main thing I can think of that he was in besides Grimm that anybody would kind of recognize. And he was very nice too. I actually joked with him that his character in Caprica was such a badass, but on Grimm, his character always gets his ass kicked. And so I'm like, why are you always getting your ass kicked on Grimm? He used to be like a brawler on Caprica. And he's like, I know. He's like, why can't I kick ass anymore? So it was funny chatting with him about that. And I almost got a chance to talk to Jamie Alexander. But during the course of kind of waiting for my chance to talk to her, I was talking to the guy that was standing to my right that was also waiting for a chance to talk to her, and we turned back and she was gone.
Oh, darn.
It's like she vanished into thin air. Like, it was just, wow, she's just disappeared. But then
she had to go back to Asgard.
But then after the party, I was sitting downstairs in the lobby of the hotel, and I noticed a woman that looked very familiar to me, and it turned out to be Melissa Gomez.
Michelle
who played
Gomez.
Michelle Gomez, that's right. Sorry.
Missy!
who plays the new incarnation of the Master.
She's amazing.
Yeah. She was very cool. She took a really nice pose for the picture. She did like a whole look in the picture I took with her. Looked great. I know her more than from Doctor Who. I know her from Green Wing, which is like this kind of British medical comedy kind of show or something, where she played like the director of the hospital, and she was just certifiable in that show. She was just completely insane. And just doing weird stuff constantly. So that's what I knew her, and that's how I asked her if it was her, because I wasn't sure. I approached her and I said, "You're from Green Wing, right?" Because I figured everyone talked to her about Doctor Who. So I wanted to seem a little bit. I wanted a little bit more cred.
Sure.
So I asked about Green Wing, and she was very friendly. She seemed kind of nervous. She was kind of by herself. She had no publicist by her. I think that was actually just the hotel she was staying at. She wasn't there for the NBC party.
Do we know if it was her first ever Comic-Con? I wouldn't be surprised if it was.
I wouldn't be surprised at all. I think Doctor Who's the only really major like genre thing she's done.
Sure.
Right.
So I can't imagine.
Which is actually the same with Peter Capaldi too. He hasn't done. Yeah, this is his first genre work that I know of.
Well, he's done a few things that, like, nowadays could have gotten him a Comic-Con panel, because, like, everything on TV has a Comic-Con panel.
That's true. Yeah.
He's done like the thick of it could have, but that was too far ago when it isn't.
When that
wouldn't have
considered
happened
Comic-Con material. Yeah, because now Comic-Con is used to promote anything and everything that they can think of to promote. Rather than just strictly
like the 2.5 Men panel.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of my experience at Comic-Con at the NBC party, and
that's fantastic.
After the experience from it, I'm really hoping to go again next year and hit even more parties.
That'd be so cool. I just want to go to Comic-Con one year.
You should go. It's packed, and if you go, book everything really early, because, man, they gouge up the prices later on.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
My dream is to go to Comic-Con, and I also want to go to E3. Yeah.
Right?
Go to Comic-Con 3.
Comic-Con 3. Yeah, they just merge them into one show. But yeah,
they just hold it in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Those are my big dreams. Obviously, I can't go to both of them in a single year. But that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, technically you could. So you could go to E3 and then just like live on the streets for a couple weeks. A couple
Right.
months.
What's more important in life?
Just quit my job, like own my
Yeah.
house, live
Just
in,
become a bum for a
become
while.
a bum
and
for a while.
Just save enough money that you can get a hotel room to take a shower before you head down to Comic-Con.
Yeah,
You're good.
then go Comic-Con and then figure out what to do with your life.
Just remember, you always can.
You always can. Yes, that's true. You stop making excuses.
So let's talk about some more stuff. Kat, what can you talk about another kind of Comic-Con thing you saw or were able to kind of read about that you really enjoyed?
I really enjoyed the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel. I thought it was actually probably my favorite panel that I've watched. I think the cast has a kind of effortless camaraderie. Like, I don't know if either of you got the chance to watch the panel, but it was really,
Yeah.
really funny. And it's a really fun cast. And something else I was appreciating about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter, because I don't know if either of you saw the whole Dub Smash war that they were having after Comic-Con.
No,
I didn't get to see that.
Okay, you should look it up because it's so fun. They were just doing this whole competition with Dub Smash, which included the entire cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. doing what is that song, We Are the Champions, that resulted in Clark Gregg revealing himself dressed up as Peggy Carter.
Oh,
Which
oh
was
my
absolutely
god.
amazing. So then Haley Atwell recruited Chris Evans for one of hers. Like, they were just totally having a blast with this.
I saw the gif of that with Haley Atwell and Chris Evans and Jarvis.
And they pop out from behind his shield.
Yeah. I did
If
see
you
that.
get a chance, read the whole thing. It's hilarious. It makes both cast like just so entirely charming.
I saw the gif of like Jarvis is talking to Haley Atwell, and then Chris Evans comes out of nowhere dressed as Captain America, because in the gif I saw like Jarvis, the actor, Haley Atwell, they weren't in costume, they were just in normal clothes, and they were talking, and then Chris Evans comes out of nowhere dressed as Captain America, and he takes Haley Atwell and he dives her in with a kiss, and then it like zooms in on like Jarvis with like this look on his face, and he's holding a sign that says "Nobody puts Jarvis in the corner."
Yeah, like the cast clearly enjoy the heck out of this. And one thing I was kind of appreciating about this, and I think I do more directly as a result of the fact that the rest of the MCU decided not to show up for this one, is I feel like Agents Carter and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are the very humble parts of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Because, like, Avengers is kind of on top of the world, and Guardians of the Galaxy was a huge hit, and I feel like they're all huge and they know it. And Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter are both kind of like, have struggled a lot in the ratings. They've just kind of struggled to even exist. And I think it's made them really, really humble. And to me, that makes them even more endearing. They're just kind of like, we're just happy to be here.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of fun watching both of their
I
panels.
loved Ward at the panel. I think he was the highlight of it.
Oh my gosh.
All his Hydra stuff. And they were really playing it up like the whole, like, everybody hated him.
Oh my
Like, they were
gosh.
pretending to hate the actor, too,
And that
stuff.
the moment in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. panel when someone from the audience yells out, "Hail Hydra," and instantaneously Clark Gregg surges to his feet with his "How dare you" expression on his face.
Yeah,
And the whole
from
cast
the panel.
called for that person to be escorted out. It was like, oh, it's amazing.
So
I loved it when it was I think it was an 8-year-old girl was asking if she could be on the team or something.
Yeah.
And then they were kind of going over the whole thing, and then Ward was saying, "It's all, or you could join my team."
somebody should remind them Hydra's dead. The Avengers killed Hydra at the beginning of Age of Ultron.
Well, I think you will need to watch second season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and maybe you'll better understand Ward's connection to Hydra going forward.
Yeah, no, I've started to watch it.
Because there's some things you still need to learn
About
that I don't want to say because there would be spoilers.
Oh, about Ward and Hydra?
About Ward and Hydra, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So,
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm on like episode 5 of the second season now.
How are you liking it so
okay.
far?
Oh yeah, it's going pretty good so far. I just got up to the point where they
Adrian
introduced Bobby.
Palicki.
Yeah.
Yes. When Simmons had to escape the Hydra compound because their cover was blown, and like this woman, it was like introduced as like this hard ass like Hydra interrogator,
yeah.
drill sergeant, or whatever, turned out to be another double agent working in Hydra. Like, just when you thought Simmons was done for, like, she turns out to be S.H.I.E.L.D., and she totally...
She's a double agent, and she's
a
a double
agent.
agent. They're all double agents.
That was the last episode I finished watching, and that was really fun. And then it turned out that she was also that other guy's, like, ex-wife that he kept telling stories about, like, the evil she-devil. Ex-wife.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be her.
Good old Nick Blood. It was funny hearing the panel too, saying like the same thing I've been thinking this whole time, which is that he has a name that's so much better for his character, the actor.
He has such a great comic book name, right? Oh man.
So that was funny hearing that being addressed. But Will, were there any other kind of panels that really struck you?
I watched some of the Game of Thrones panel. It wasn't.
It's kind of dull this year.
It was dull. It was really dull. I mean, not just for like the lack of new information, but also just like there wasn't like a lot of energy there with the cast that they assembled, I guess.
It was too early for it. They didn't have Jon Snow, so they weren't able to have their farewell to Kit Harington like they usually do. Like last year, they had Pedro Pascal there after his character had died, and so they were able to kind of have that last moment. Yeah, really. So they didn't have that. They didn't have George R. R. Martin wasn't there. No. The showrunners weren't there. So it's kind of, and they didn't have a casting reel. Which was, that's when you have all that together, it's just, they didn't have much to do there. That's like the thing, It's because Comic-Con is early this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Isn't it usually the last weekend of July?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And so they're just, like, they don't have anything together to show for, like, a casting reel or something.
No, so...
Like they did last year.
They just did, like, the only thing they showed like, the auditions that the various actors did for Game of Thrones, and they showed, like, some mashup of all the references that Paul Palter has made for the show. Which is, it was pretty lame.
Okay, that's a little bit too cocky, like, look how cool we are.
Yeah, I know, right? I thought that was, like, totally
It's
lame.
just literally all they had to show.
Yeah, it's like, literally. It was like, it's freaking nothing. It's basically what it was.
Outside of the panel, though, they did announce that, like, one of the filming locations was leaked out or something. It's this castle, I can't remember the name of it, but it's this crazy, crazy looking castle that apparently strikes very similar imagery to artwork that's been released for the Tower of Joy, which is like a huge flashback scene.
Oh.
Like very prominent in the whole like Robert's Rebellion era.
Oh, interesting.
Stuff that's going on. So it's where Ned went to save his sister.
Oh.
And so, yeah, so if they're going to that time, and some of the casting information also points to a character that died in that time, so it seems like likely that they're going to have a flashback of that.
If they're going to flashback that time and stuff, are we going to see Sean Bean return to that?
No, he'd be too young, I think.
Oh yeah, because
It would have to be a different
it'd
actor
be a
playing
much
him.
younger Ned Stark. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, we would get, we'd possibly get, the first real kind of definitive kind of, answer about, Jon Snow's parentage, perhaps, from that.
Oh yeah.
Because there's the biggest kind of fan theory in all of Game of Thrones is about Jon Snow's parentage, and that would basically be solved if the scene was flashback.
Okay, and then we'll see if like everybody's theories, if all the theories are correct about Jon Snow's parentage.
Everything points out to it being correct, which makes me secretly think it's not. Just because George R. R. Martin is such a troll.
Yeah, George R. R. Martin. I don't know. I don't know what the purpose of revealing Jon Snow's heritage is now that they just killed him off and he's not coming back.
No, they never said he wasn't coming back. They said he was dead.
They said he was deader.
They said he's not alive. Like they never. You have to pay attention to the wording they use. They never said he's not coming back. They said They said, okay, we'll put this in the ground. He's dead.
Oh, yeah.
They never said he's not coming back.
Yeah.
So that's,
from what I heard,
that's the whole thing. I think anybody that saw the scene knew he was dead. It was just always a question of if he's going to come back, because the Red Priestess happens to be there.
He told, he said he told Obama that Jon Snow was deader than dead. So whatever that is.
He told Obama.
Yeah.
Guess that's when you're president of the United States, you get special privilege, i.e. you get to learn spoilers about Game of Thrones that no one else does.
Apparently, yeah, because apparently Obama is a giant Game of Thrones fan. And after John's...
Well, he's moving up because he used to be a huge Entourage fan, so I'm happy to see him be more into Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Obama is apparently a big fan of Game of Thrones. Apparently, after the last episode of the season where Jon Snow died, Obama wanted to know if Jon Snow was really dead. And,
he called the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
He probably had to, because can you imagine if he called George R. R. Martin directly, and George R. R. Martin would be like, wait, is this a joke?
Yeah.
You're really the president? Wait, no.
Please hold for the president.
Yeah, but I thought that kind of wording, deader than dead, is interesting, because that sounds like White Walker to me.
It could be, but there's also the whole idea that, other characters have talked about the idea that, and George R. R. Martin himself has mentioned before, that the point of having a character revived on a show like that is to show that death changes you.
Right.
And the idea that you're not the same person after, so like, there was a character that we saw, that had been revived a bunch of times in, like, the second season, I think, or third season. And we saw him get revived, and they had mentioned he'd been revived countless times. And he seemed very kind of grim and down, and his character before that was, like, supposedly, from what we'd heard, not seen, was, like, really flamboyant and, kind of, not meaning like gay, but meaning like just really, like he does the fire sword stuff, and he's like real kind of, I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying.
Flamboyant,
I get what you're saying. I'm actually really glad to hear that.
And then he's very grim when we see him afterwards.
I'm glad to hear that, because that's actually one of my... I feel like it's more than a pet peeve, but it's something that really troubles me, is the amount of times that people will kill someone and then bring him back to life. And it's like, okay, we violate that rule all the time, that's fine, but there still needs to be a cost. Like, one of the most egregious examples I've seen of this was Star Trek Into Darkness, where Kirk was magically brought back to life with con blood, and the whole movie was completely flippant about it. Like, it had absolutely no impact on Kirk whatsoever. She's like, yeah, I just magically healed from death. No big deal.
Yeah.
Weight is very important.
Yeah. I think, and a lot of my frustration with comic books do this all the time, superhero books.
Yeah.
And it frustrates the hell out of me. My frustration comes from because it doesn't have any consequence ever. It's like, they kill.
It'll have big consequence, and then everything's forgotten like a week
Yeah,
later.
it has consequence when it happens, but then they just bring the character.
But not when the next writer takes all the material.
Yeah, but they bring back the character, and it's back to normal once they bring back the character. It's like, that character is not changed from having died. Superman, when they brought him back, was not changed or affected in any way from him having supposedly died.
So why
So I
did
always
you
compared-
kill them at all? Like, what was the purpose of doing that?
It's
a terrible precedent.
I always compared Western comics to like professional wrestling. And in professional wrestling, the terminology is there's a heel, which is like the term for a bad guy, you know? And they say someone's making a heel turn when they're going from like Hulk Hogan all of a sudden starts making fun of the fans, or like runs out and screws over one of the people that the fans like, you know, now he's a bad guy.
Speaking of that.
And he like, you know, antagonizes the fans. And then like a little bit later, all of a sudden he makes like a face, which is what they call the good guys, a face turn, and becomes good again, you know? And I always thought that was very comparable to American comic books, where you could have something like Civil War, and then immediately go back into like nothing.
And I have to applaud Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in this regard too, because when the show was announced, they announced they were bringing Agent Coulson back, who had died in the Avengers. I groaned. I groaned when this was announced, because I was like, oh, come on, you're gonna start this now? But they've done it really well, into the fact where it was a major plot point. It had a major effect on the character of Coulson. You know, it affected him dramatically and in profound ways that the show really explored, and, you know, and it made his character more interesting, gave his character more depth, and also gave them a cool mystery to explore in the show. And he also provided some good stuff for the plot, and and as far as I am in season 2, it's continuing to affect his character and affect the plot in significant ways. So it's not just a stunt that they did just because it was a popular character, and I love that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And another show I felt like did a really good job with that is Buffy. I know people groan about 6th season, but I actually really like 6th season, and one of the things I like about it is that Buffy doesn't come back from the dead all happy and everything's great now.
I think I was in heaven.
That, like, there's significant consequence to bringing her back from the dead. I
Musical
really like
consequences.
That. Musical consequences. And it's one of the many reasons why I love Buffy and why I love Joss Whedon, is because Joss Whedon, I feel like, is one of the... And I think this is the same way with George R. R. Martin. Even though I'm not a fan specifically of his work, I still respect this about him. I feel like the two of them, they kill people off, but they don't do it cavalierly. They don't do it for audience manipulation. They do it with reason. And you know, if they're gonna have someone come back from the dead, you know that they're gonna use that whole concept really well. That it's not just going to be, and this person was magically revived, and then we'll just pretend it never happened.
And you get revived, and you get revived. You all get revived.
Right?
The resurrection sweepstakes. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, if you're going to do that, because, and going back, that's what I hate about American comic books, is that so often it's just a PR stunt. It's a stunt done to sell more comics, to get people to buy the comic. And it's not something that's done with any consideration of, is this a good story? You know, are we going to explore this in any significant way other than the immediate story that we have to tell right now, which is to sell more comic books?
Yeah.
It's also sort of a negative side effect of one of the best things about American comic books, which is that they can just go like, okay, we're going to do a run of this series, and we're going to turn it on its head, and we're going to bring in some really good writers that people love, that have never worked on something like this before, and an artist that has a very different take on it. And that's one of the best things about American comics. They can do that. There's been runs of like, what was it, some X-Men runs and that were done by like Joss Whedon or something.
That's right.
You know? And there was a run of Wolverine, I think, that was done by Damon Lindelof. And there, you know, it's like there's these kind of crazy off-the-wall things. The problem is that everything conflicts when you do that.
Yeah.
It's like when you do that and then try to tie it into like a unified overarching story, you get these massive conflicts and problems. That's one of the things I like so much about the MCU is that it seems like a better, you know, thought out universe than the actual comic book universe that it's based on.
At least so far, at least this far into its life.
I've been hearing great things about Ant-Man too, which
it's
comes out
it's
tomorrow.
been getting middling reviews. I think it's only like 70% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I've been hearing good stuff from a lot of people though. Yeah,
really?
A lot of people saying it's like Guardians in the sense that it's like a really fun comic book movie.
This isn't gonna do too well for Marvel. I don't know anybody who's interested in going to see this. Like, I've actually suggested to go see it with my group of friends, and they just don't want to. They say, no, we're not watching that. And
I think it's a harder sell. Also, I think it has the, at least from my perspective, I think one thing that might hurt it is it's another superhero origin movie. And we've already seen so many of those. And all the best recent superhero movies have been the ones that were not the origin movies, you know, by and large. So,
yeah. So I don't know. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm interested to see the numbers this weekend. This could be. I don't think it's going to be a major flop.
I don't think it's going to be a flop. I think it'll do okay.
I think it'll do okay.
I think it might do better than what a lot of people are expecting. I don't think it's going to be a runaway hit like Guardians was.
No.
But I think it might do significantly better than a lot of people are thinking it will.
It doesn't have that kind of energy and hype behind it. That at least I'm not feeling it from anywhere, to be honest. At the moment.
I think some of that comes from just kind of the actual story behind the movie.
Yeah.
You know, with Edgar Wright and everything and all the kind of drama that went down there. I think there's a lot of expectation that it's going to suck. And that's kind of the thing I've been hearing from a lot of people that have seen the movie now is that they're saying, no, like they went in skeptical and they walked away thinking it was one of their favorites of the whole MCU. Mm-hmm. That it's really fun in the same way like Guardians is really fun.
I'd be a lot more hyped if it was still 100% written and directed by Edgar Wright. Just because I love everything that man does, you know.
A lot of his script is apparently still in place, though.
Right. That's what I hear.
So, and like I said, I've heard some very glowing positive things from some reviewers that I trust. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to end up doing better than a lot of people are expecting. But I think that being said, it's not going to be the Guardians of the Galaxy of this year. It's not going to be like that. We already had the Guardians of the Galaxy this year, and it was Jurassic World.
Yeah.
It's another Chris Pratt movie that kind of like people thought was going to do pretty well, and then ended up doing extremely well. You know. We already had that this year, and I don't think Ant-Man's going to repeat that. It's going to do good, but not amazing.
I agree.
I agree.
And
I don't think it has to do amazing.
Like, not every movie out of the MCU needs to be a hit.
I think it might do like Thor numbers, or maybe a little bit less.
Chris Pratt seems to be the king of the gigantic blockbuster that nobody expected.
Every time he's in a movie, nobody expects anything.
Yeah, it's like, they'll just put him in like another movie like next year that nobody's expecting.
He's like a background actor, just and Chris Pratt. He's like in it for like 3 seconds.
Highest grossing movie of all time.
They literally just filmed it on the street when he was like walking by with his real family. They added scenes to the movie like Bowfinger style, like by following him around.
Yeah, right.
Writing the narrative around him.
Chris Pratt in Divergent 3, the highest grossing movie ever.
So let's kind of go over a few kind of last minute things from Comic-Con that we all liked. I kind of liked the Walking Dead panel. I've been kind of lukewarm on Walking Dead as a whole, and I still am on that show. But the Walking Dead panel, everybody came out wearing like Robert Kirkman t-shirts, like with his face plastered on
that's
them.
weird.
And then they had like these pictures of him making different expressions on like popsicle sticks, so they could hold him in front of their faces.
Oh my god.
Because he couldn't be there for the thing,
Oh,
so they just
really?
did this.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah,
Good
so
on
instead
them.
they had like
That's
they
great.
had like Robert Kirkman making like a horrified face and making like a sad face, and like so they could hold up his face whenever they wanted the appropriate reaction. I thought that was hilarious. I also really liked, I don't know if you guys watched Conan during Comic-Con.
I did not. Oh, you know what?
Oh.
I did like, I saw
The Mad
the
Max
Mad
thing.
Max thing. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
liked that. That was cool. I was like,
So it was really funny with him, and he had some, big groups of people on there. He had the cast of Game of Thrones and the cast of The Walking Dead on one night.
nice.
And then he had the cast of The Hunger Games. And then on the last night, he had the cast of
X-Men Apocalypse.
X-Men.
Yeah, I watched that one.
And a surprise appearance by Doctor Who. By Peter Capaldi.
I admit, I didn't bother to watch the Fear the Walking Dead panel. I just took a summary online. I mixed a couple different summaries of the panel online and did my thing from that.
There's not a lot of panel can tell you that the trailer itself won't on a new series.
Right, exactly. It seemed like there wasn't much there anyway, and it was all kind of boring to me anyway. I'm not too terribly interested. From what I've learned of Fear the Walking Dead, it's not something that seems too terribly interesting to me. It sounds kind of mundane.
I actually was just watching the trailer again, and I actually really like the direction it's coming from. My only issue is that the second it catches up and they know exactly what's going on, it's retreading the Walking Dead.
Right, it's gonna be the Walking Dead again.
So it's got like 2 or 3 episodes of really exciting stuff. And then after that, it's like, okay, now it's the same
only
thing
thing they
again.
kept trying to stress is that these are more grounded characters than the characters in The Walking Dead. Like they kept,
Okay, I'm sorry. What? How are the characters on The Walking Dead not grounded?
Well, I mean, he means like,
they're
not combat trained. There's no like sheriffs.
yeah, they kept,
Oh, okay.
the thing
Okay.
they kept coming back to is like they kept doing comparisons between the main character in this one and Rick. Like Rick is a sheriff, he's trained in weapons, he's trained in first aid,
And the guy in Fear the Walking Dead's like a history
Yeah,
professor, or history
he's a
teacher in a
social-
high
yeah,
school or
he's
something.
a high school social studies teacher, and so he doesn't have like a guy, he doesn't even have a gun. And so they're kind of like, they refer to the characters in The Walking Dead as larger than life, like several times, and they kept like saying, that these,
Like Daryl and Michonne and stuff are very much, very comic booky
yeah,
characters.
Sure.
these aren't those type of larger than life characters in the show. So that's one thing that they kept trying to stress, so
I still say, man, we got
there's not,
2 to 3 episodes of good original content, and then it's
right,
retread.
yeah, that's my thing. I mean, they kept, so they were, the thing they were trying to point out is, like, there's not gonna, like, be this, like, badass, obvious leader in the group coming out, like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you shouldn't, like, expect, like, somebody like Daryl just completely pulling everything in sight.
No characters with crossbows and samurai swords, and
I mean, Daryl took out Tank by himself. I remember that episode.
yeah, I agree. We're not going to get that kind of story from it, but like I said, I'm excited for the 2 or 3 episodes that look interesting, and then after that, I'm expecting it to start to fall apart.
It's kind of funny to me because, like when I watch Shaun of the Dead, my favorite part of the movie is always the beginning of the film, and it slowly leads you into the zombie apocalypse.
Well, Or like when they think the one person on the street is drunk.
Yeah, when they think just like, because, like, the whole, like, slow transition and the way that they framed it, the way that you're just following Simon Pegg around as this is all happening in the background, and it's slowly, and there's, like, all these various hints before it finally comes in full bore. I thought that was, like, brilliant, the way they did that.
I haven't seen the movie, but that does appeal it to me greatly. I just love that idea. Because is it that the characters themselves, that they haven't noticed yet that there are zombies everywhere?
Yeah.
You haven't seen Shaun of the
Dead? I haven't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you said it's so funny.
Yeah, it's made all the more better that the whole time Simon Pegg is completely oblivious that anything is happening until a zombie literally walks into his house. That's when he realizes that that's going on.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And it's great because his friend's like all opportunistic too. Like Sean Pegg's like roommate dies or something, and he's like a zombie, and they're like, you know, let's like I'm gonna take his car. You know, we have to take his car, and he's like, do you really have to take his car? You could just take that one or something. And he's like, no, it's not fast enough. We need to take his car. And then he's doing like donuts, and he's just like.
Yeah.
Just totally using it as an opportunity. He's just enjoying the hell out of the zombie apocalypse. It's great.
Yeah, that's a great film.
So,
yeah, if you get a chance, Kat, you need to watch that. If you're even, like, mildly interested in, like, zombie, like, culture.
That's the thing, I'm not. I watched 4 seasons of The Walking Dead, and that's pretty well my limit.
Well, even if you're not into it, it's just funny. It's just
funny,
a really funny movie.
Because it's like a comedy. It's interesting in that it's a comedy, but it's also an authentic zombie film in which that the comedy comes from the human characters and how they react to the situation, and not so much like the zombies are played straight in this film. They are not played up for comedy. They are actual zombies. They kill.
There's not like a bunch of personal strife. Like any real strife that's going on between characters is like petty bickering type stuff, which is like played up for comedy.
So all the comedy comes from the human side of it, and it's pretty brilliant the way they did it.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's like I heard it described once, I think by Edgar Wright or Simon Pegg, one of them, I think, as like a romantic comedy, like a British romantic comedy in which the zombie apocalypse suddenly happens.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the conceit.
So it's just like a cute British romantic comedy, and then the zombie apocalypse happens during
because at the beginning of the movie, Simon Pegg, he breaks up with his girlfriend, and he's all depressed about that. And he's completely oblivious to zombie apocalypse happening, like, all around him, because he's, like, too depressed thinking about his girlfriend and his breakup.
Yeah, it's really good. Trying to think, what else? The Shannara trailer, did you guys check that out?
I did, yeah. Actually,
that was surprisingly good.
Yeah, like, I know nothing about this series, but wow, the production values they're putting into that actually looks pretty great.
Like, I swear at one point, like, in the trailer, one of the producers literally said that they're filming this like it was a film, like they were going to put on movie theater screens. And it shows from the trailer because the budget must be. I don't know, like, how or why MTV is financing such an expensive show. It seems.
It's the success of Game of Thrones.
It's gotta be. I mean, it seems a very odd thing for like MTV to even be doing.
It could also be a lot of trickery because some shows have been able to pull off way more with small budgets than they should have had any ability to do. A good example of that is like Supernatural early on. That show was doing some really cool special effects stuff that was beyond what you'd expect from a show of that scope.
Right.
I feel like Battlestar Galactica
small.
was like that.
Oh yeah, Battlestar Galactica definitely.
I mean,
that's getting like feature level
way,
like space battles.
Way
and
cooler
stuff.
than I believe the budget had. They did a fantastic job on that.
Yeah, so some shows are just able to, through the right talent and the right level of excitement from the people working on it, are able to do a lot more than you'd expect, Like, I imagine a lot of these kind of crazy things we're seeing in Shannara are done through, like matte painting, which is like an old technique that requires like a few really good artists, rather than like these massive sets. And if you do it well, it's indistinguishable.
Right.
So I think it could just be an issue of that, where you just have some very smart people working on how it's put together. Like, the difference between that and, like, say, Game of Thrones, which is also very expensive, is that Game of Thrones shoots on location all over the world.
Right.
Oh. And that's a huge financial drain, to do something like that.
Yeah, it helps that HBO has lots of money.
Yeah, and that's a big reason why that show is so expensive, And when they do a special effects episode, Game of Thrones does it insanely high detail, So it kind of gets mixed up where, like, Shannara, it looks like they're filming all in New Zealand, which has got some pretty good, like, tax kicks, I think. A lot of people like to film in New Zealand for that reason. A lot of shows have actually filmed in New Zealand that have been able to do more than what their budget suggests.
Thank you, Peter Jackson, for drawing the world's attention to New Zealand.
Yeah, well, that's an example, too. That those films were big budget, but what they were pulling off at the time was way beyond what even their budget was suggesting. Then you have stuff, Hercules and Xena was New Zealand. At that time, those shows were doing a lot more than what you would have expected them to do with the meager budgets that they started with. So it's all, sometimes it's just trickery, and it's the right kind of people involved and kind of smart planning. So I think that that's a lot of what happened there. I don't think MTV is fronting Game of Thrones level budget.
I'm sure.
For this, but it does look really good.
It does. Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
And yeah, so trying to think if there's anything else to really talk about. Those are kind of the major beats at Comic-Con, for us at least, for our TV coverage. I'm excited. I gotta say, what just name off your favorite moment, quote somebody said, anything real quick, Kat.
Stephen Amell referring to himself as Green Arrow.
Okay. Well,
Bruce Campbell doing the Ash Williams, judging the Ash Williams costume contest at the Evil Dead panel. And there was like this one female, like, dressed as a sexy version of Ash that he was like going gaga over. I think that was my favorite moment of that. Yeah.
And I'll just have to say, I already talked about it, but just the Ash versus the Evil Dead trailer, that was my favorite thing out of Comic-Con, besides going to the party.
Oh, of course, yeah.
That was for me the best.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to top that, but just from a kind of outside perspective of that, just seeing just seeing that trailer was awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
And so yeah, that pretty much wraps us up for this week. So the weekly set is a show we try to do every week. Sometimes we just can't do it. We weren't able to do it last week because, Comic-Con was coming up and I had to get ready for this trip I took to go to that party. We should be doing it next week as well, unless something comes up I don't know about yet. Stay tuned to... Yeah.
Zombie apocalypse.
Forgot the apocalypse is happening.
I'm so excited about X-Men Apocalypse. But I won't go into that now.
No, we can't, unfortunately. But yeah, I saw the potato trailer for that.
Man. But yeah, it's all exciting stuff. So, check out our website, TVEnthusiast.com. You can read some of our coverage. You can read the articles I wrote up about the NBC party. You can read what Kat wrote about the Marvel and DC panels, what Will wrote about Fear the Walking Dead, what I wrote about the regular Walking Dead, I guess. And we should have some more panels coming up over time, so kind of check those out as they're popping up. We're probably still going to be talking something about Comic-Con even next week. This is just like the biggest event of the year for this kind of stuff, just period. So it's going to be something that'll be permeating throughout our coverage for a while, I'm sure. But yeah, thank you everybody for listening. Bye.
Bye.
If you would like to voice your opinion, send an email to theweeklyset@TVEnthusiast.com. TV Enthusiast is a part of the Enthusiast Media Network. Stay tuned to TV Enthusiast and the Weekly Set podcast for more coverage of all of your